Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Lonely Liberal Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Zankin, and I'm so happy to have you on today's show this lovely Sunday morning. We got a great show for you today. Rick and I are going to go through a pretty crazy week of news, so we got a lot to talk about. But before we get started, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, 5-star review, all that stuff. It really does help, and I do appreciate it. But without further ado, let's get to it. Alrighty, and we are back with Rick. Rick, what is up, dude?
Hey, not much. Great to be back. How are you doing?
Good. I mean, we were supposed to get another snowstorm this week, and we didn't, so we just I think people recovered. I didn't hear a lot of people dying in the South, which is good. I mean, I feel like a lot of times whenever you hear these, southern snowstorms, it's, big violence and people don't know what to do. The people are sleeping in their offices and it's just drama, but seems like it was relatively under control.
Yeah, exactly. And I never really understood how they deal so badly with an inch of snow too, because it's like I drive a Civic. It's not like I'm in a 4-wheel drive pickup truck here. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they've figured out about salt yet. I don't know. We have a lot of listeners from the South, but let us know how you guys handle it. Yeah, from a more northern state point of view, every time there's a snowstorm, we hear the South is on fire. People are freaking out, and it's an inch of snow. I mean, what's going on?
Right.
They sleep in the offices. That's the classic one. They're not leaving. It just, I don't know. But this week was pretty good. I mean, there was so much to talk about because obviously when we did our show last week, the Minnesota and ICE killings, stuff was pretty fresh. So a lot of this week was just kind of the fallout of what happened in Minnesota last week.
Yeah, exactly. And all the responses from fellow Republicans to Democrats to the general population. I feel like there's a lot to talk about.
For sure. And just as a quick recap for people who I guess have been living under a rock, but haven't heard. So ICE last week killed another American, Alex Pretti, a VA nurse. There's a zillion videos of it from different angles from the people who were also there. Immediately after, Kristi Noem, Dan Bovino, all these guys said he was a domestic terrorist trying to cause maximum harm, even though all of the videos showed him getting not only the gun removed from him, but pistol whipped and stuff like this. And what ended up almost being the number one drama point was the fact that he had a permitted gun on his person, not brandished, but in his pocket, that was removed before they killed him. And the narrative of, well, he shouldn't be bringing a gun to a protest. We heard this from Kash Patel, Trump himself. Of course, Scott Bessent, once again, had to make it sure he can't get out of the news. And a bunch of these kind of things. I think the Kash Patel one was the one that was the most jarring for a lot of Second Amendment guys because he was really explicit. But yeah, I mean, I can't believe they've done it. They dropped the Second Amendment. The one amendment that I thought they loved the most and closest to their heart, they've seemed to have abandoned.
Exactly. And it would be hypocritical already if the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting wasn't such a big deal. And it makes it that much worse because you're talking about a 17-year-old that brought his dad's gun to a
machine
protest.
Gun. Yeah. A huge and he was holding it out front.
Right. So the hypocrisy is that much worse. And then where's the NRA? And I was curious if they've posted anything about it. So this morning I went on the NRA's Instagram, and their number one pinned post at the top of their official Instagram is congratulating Donald Trump with a lifetime member award. So they don't seem to be bothered by Trump literally saying you can't bring guns in public legally. You would think they would be, but they're not too concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. And, every single time the Trump administration goes back on their campaign promises or whatnot, you see the news go, will this be the thing that breaks MAGA? Will it be the Epstein files? Will it be the foreign wars? Will it be the free trade? And now, you're hearing the same thing. And every time your gut, right, at least my gut, says, oh, yeah, I mean, come on, this has been their thing my whole life. They've literally had the case of, we don't care that kids are dying. There's no way on earth you're taking away my gun. And now you think, oh, well, maybe now. But I don't I actually don't think it'll change it that much. Maybe more moderate conservatives will, who are kind of wobbling on the fence now will have a piece of evidence. But I think the diehard MAGA people somehow in their mind will twist this in a way to justify this rhetoric.
Exactly. And just like with what ICE is doing, like these people just think they'll be immune from this federal government overreach. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
they
for sure.
think like, oh, Trump would never try to take our guns. So I think it's kind of that attitude.
100%. It's we've just seen it creep further and further down the line. It's also, and not to get too kind of meta here, but it's just the thing I've been thinking. It's not really a news story, but it's in response to this news story. Something I've been thinking about all week long, and I'm curious what you think, is as we've seen every single value that was the traditional conservatives, like staple points, like, free trade, free gun use, like, small state governments, small federal governments, like all this stuff wither away one by one by one. It makes you think, okay, what is the only thing that a Republican 20 years ago would agree with a Republican now, right? Like, is there anything that would tie those two groups together? And the only one I can think of, at least, is tax cuts for the rich. It's the only similarity between Trump and Reagan. And I feel like just reinforces this kind of cynical kind of viewpoint of them. But like, I really think they don't have a single other goal other than tax cuts for the rich. And I know people are going, yeah, no shit, Nick. Like, really nothing. Like, I don't think any of those guys care about any of the arguments they've made outside of the cuts, because how quickly they fold. I don't know. What do you think about that? It's pretty cynical, but it makes me wonder.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, that really is the only thing. Is tax cuts for the rich. There's nothing. I mean, you mentioned free trade. Obviously, the tariffs have completely gotten rid of that. The First and Second Amendment, like everything that they once said they were for, they just don't really care about anymore. They don't care that Trump has totally reversed on all those things. I totally agree. And like to make the cynical point a little bit more cynical, like these billionaires that are giving billions of dollars to politicians, like they like these niche issues, what are sometimes called culture war issues or hot button issues. Everything from abortion to trans rights to gun rights, like all those things. They don't care about those, but they'll definitely purposely inflame the tensions to keep people distracted from pushing aggressively to raise their taxes.
Totally. And I think it's not a huge surprise that a lot of the culture stuff turned out to be like just smoke screens, right? Like, do these guys really care about trans athletes, or do they really care about the environment even? Or gay rights or whatever. But like, even the more like political wonky stuff like small government and, tax policy and stuff like that, which has always been like the more serious sounding in a way, like from like just a political nerd thing. I think that's all BS too. Clearly, right? They just insta-fold. The state government one is especially jarring because that's been kind of the, you can't regulate what I put in my river, like, because that's the federal government. Like, that usually boils everything down as like big state government, small federal government, and how Trump has the biggest federal government I can think of, in terms of like how much it overreaches, how involved it is in every aspect of society. And so like, when you think about it like that, you go, okay, and I'm not one to, and we're going to be rashing on Schumer very soon in the show. I'm not saying that, Democratic senators and congressmen, they're all, this angel group. But I will say Democratic politics has been value-based loosely, like where they won't go, like at least outwardly away from their values as much, other than campaign financing, which you could say is obviously a big one. But like, I think a lot of the times people would argue that the Democrats are too moral based and too value, and they can't get out of their own way because they're so stuck And it does make you wonder, like, what do you do with that going forward? Like, how do you even argue with these guys?
Yeah, exactly. Because like all these like pre-Trump and really even Trump's first term, really until this second term, like we think about all these different ideologies and like factions as influencing the two parties, like whether it's Christian nationalism, democratic socialism, libertarianism, whatever. Um, like all those things have no effect in comparison to the cult of personality with Trump. Like it really is a cult of personality. It's all about what Trump has said that day, because Trump doesn't really have any foundational views or opinions either. So it's like the whims of his crazy brain. But yeah, all these like ways we typically have thought of like looking at the two parties, like none of it really seems to matter anymore because it's so based around either being loyal to Trump or on the other side, you know, responding and opposing to what he's doing most recently.
Yeah, and like, so like it just makes you wonder, like, when, for example, let's God hope that, you know, the 2028 election is normal and Trump goes and whatnot. And, you know, rightfully so, the issue of, I don't know, like healthcare comes up and they go, you know, the Democratic candidate goes, oh, we want, let's hopefully say, like some Medicare for all type thing. And they'll argue with the conservative candidate about the merits of, you know, can a government run system work? Like, how does a privatized version work? Like, and that it will be this whole debate about that. But in reality, I feel like that's not even like reflective of the true decision making tree at all. It's just one group saying, yeah, I don't care what's better. I just know this one will make more money for people. And then the other one kind of just like placating a response, but ultimately kind of being like, look, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, you know, whatever. And like, that's pretty cynical, but like, I don't think they're ever arguing the merits of things. And obviously people are, you know what I mean? Like people in the country, like talking to people and stuff like that. I'm talking about like at the, you know, federal level. And it just kind of reframes how you look at things a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyways, so on top of that, so once we've seen, you know, this whole argument this week has been about like he shouldn't have had the gun, he didn't have the gun. And the Trump administration did react to the backlash a bit. So Bovino, who, by the way, who the hell is this? I know who he is, but like he really just kind of popped out of nowhere, and now he's back. He's gone. He's back. They're kicking out of Minnesota. Nome is also leaving Minnesota, and they're going to bring Tom Homan, the border czar, to Minnesota, so what a relief. But this has been an interesting argument because me and you, Shirley, and a lot of people have been calling that Nome needs to go. Nome needs to be either impeached or resign or whatever because of the lying and the horrible job she's doing. And she's not going anywhere, obviously. But there was an interesting quote from her this week that she said, everything I've done has been a direct order from Stephen Miller and President Donald Trump. And I mean, my God, dude, are we not hearing the I was just following orders comment? I mean, I feel like that's usually the beginning of the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was an insane quote. But it is kind of sad that even as you have Trump like backtracking to a small extent, but to an extent, backtracking on, you know, what ICE is doing. Certainly other Republicans have backtracked a little bit in the face of all the outrage about this killing. You still like they're still not willing to fire Kristi Noem just to move on from this matter. You know what I mean? Like,
no, totally.
In previous administrations, like that's just how it works, for better or worse. Like politicians are usually so self-interested that they just have somebody take the fall for something like this. And it's like Trump is so confident in his power right now that he's like, I'm not even going to fire the craziest, dumbest person who's at the center of this massive controversy that has, by the way, massive international attention too.
Like, of course. Yeah. Definitely.
And it's like he can't even do that. Like that's how confident he is. Like like think about like the rollout of the Affordable Care Act in 2010 and 2011. Like one of the heads, I forget which agency it was, but who was overseeing that rollout had to resign because they were calling for her firing because the rollout wasn't super smooth. And it's like, that's how far we've come. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
an administrative rollout wasn't super smooth. So, like, a cabinet member had to take the fall for it. And it's now, like, these absurd extrajudicial killings of American citizens in the street. And it's like, now she's going to stay put. Like, we're fine with her.
It's so crazy. But I do think, and this is what we're going to end up talking about more, is as soon as one of them goes, that's a huge like crack in the armor, right? And it makes me feel like the rallying cry needs to be, she needs to go. Like it needs to stay strong. And I'm already worried that it won't be, because I do think if they can get one of these guys to resign, it's probably her that has the easiest probability of being, outed. And that would be a nice start, right? that would be a sign that he's not all invincible from stuff like we were just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're seeing the most aggressive statements about this killing, like from Republicans, are now centered at calling for Kristi Noem to resign, like especially Tillis. And of course, friend of the pod, Murkowski, who always has something to say, but falls in line every single time. But like, you are seeing calls for Noem to resign from Republicans now. So yeah, I mean, she has to go. That has to be the bare minimum. And obviously, we're hearing that, Homan is negotiating this agreement with the Minnesota government to withdraw at least some of the presence of ICE. But then the question is, what about the other 49 states that ICE is in too? So like, I'm not even sure what we can consider a small victory anymore, but like, and it's moving in the right direction at least.
For sure. And it's a good piece of evidence that public outcry still matters. And we'll talk about the protests and everything that later, but it just shows you that like people freaking out does have influence, even if it's minor, like in the short run. And actually, this ties really well to a question we got this week from a Tom, not Tom, from recently moved to Minnesota. No, from just Tom. No funny email. No, we don't know where. And Tom asks us, why is there so much drama with ICE in Minnesota when in Texas there's way more illegals? Was the comment. And what I think Tom is saying is, this is weird that obviously undocumented immigrants are way more in the South because that's where the border is. Why are they in the most northern state and not that? And it's a great question. And Rick, I don't know what your immediate thoughts are to it, because I definitely have a...
It's a great point, and it's understating even the extent of it. Like, we're talking about estimated millions of undocumented immigrants in Texas and thousands in Minnesota.
Yeah.
The difference is absolutely massive, not to mention the fact that how far Minnesota is from the southern border, too.
It's as northern as possible. It's like over Canada.
I mean, the sad, cynical take is just Trump is going after Tim Walz because he ran against him in the election, and he's going after Democratic states in general, and sending ICE that aggressively into Texas would give off the impression that the Texas Republican governor isn't doing a good job with immigration there, and he doesn't want to give off that impression, but he does want to give off that impression when it comes to Democratic governors. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, and I think they found an excuse with this, the fraud, the charity fraud and stuff like that. So they use that as an excuse. They, loosely tied Somalis to it, and they just found a story. But yeah, I mean, Tom is right. I mean, why is the border czar in the state literally farthest away from the border, or from the Canadian border? Why is he at the Canadian border, not the Mexican border? Good question. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly it's clearly part of it. I mean, I don't know exactly why they chose Minnesota. I think it was a really bad idea to choose Minnesota. Honestly, I think Because a lot of the stuff that they're doing in Minnesota echoes stuff that they've done on the coast, like in California, or what they want to do in Chicago, not the coast, but you know what I mean, New York or whatnot. And it seems like the rest of the country is okay because they hate the coastal cities. But Minnesota is a very quiet place, a lot of old ladies protesting, a lot of white people, right? I think like hurting those guys and seeing them act very calm and like be fairly professional and really handle it perfectly, Minnesota, in a way. Like, I think it's a mistake. I think going after middle of America is a bad idea. I think someone from Iowa could relate to someone from Minnesota, and they don't usually relate to someone from LA. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what people think listening about that, but I think going to Minnesota was a disaster. They should have went to Texas in that political drama, I think, because at least they could make the case that they're doing what they said they would do and then try to come up with PR to excuse that. But yeah, it just feels like Minnesota has the everyman a little bit to them for most Americans, and that's part of the reason why it's so appalling.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And like ultimately, Minnesota is still a Midwest purple state. It's just a purple state that's leaning increasingly blue, whereas Ohio, a state like Ohio, has leaned increasingly red. But they're both just purple Midwest states with tons of Republicans.
And like, if you're from the Midwest, I don't think you hate Minnesota, you know what I mean? But you may hate the coast, Oh, those coastal guys, they're in their own world, blah, blah, blah. Like, I do think that was a big, I think it was a mistake. I think that will not end up being smart in the history books. That will be unwise. But we talked about it a little bit. So what did the Democrats, you might be asking, oh man, that's what the Republicans said, Nick. But what did the Democrats say when they heard that Kristi Noem had lied to the American people and said that Alex Pretti was a domestic terrorist? What did they say? And this actually gives us a time for
It's time for the clip of the week.
Thank you, Linda. A little bit more energy next time.
Thank you.
But let's hear from the one and only Senator Chuck Schumer.
Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller are fucking liars. Any administration that allows them to continue in office is rotten to its core. The vote on appropriations is coming up Thursday night, and Democrats will not let the Republicans move forward if ICE and DHS funding are in the bill.
Unfortunately, ICE and DHS funding was in the bill, and the Democrats did indeed voted through on Friday night. So instead of a hurrah that maybe angry Schumer was hoping, we get a I don't know.
Yeah, I legitimately thought that was an AI video. Not only because Chuck Schumer is so awkwardly inserting the word fucking into a sentence, but also the video is like the portrait mode, like focused on him in the way that the AI videos usually are, like the hyper camera focus on the person with the blurred background. And the combination of that and him saying fucking so aggressively, I legitimately thought it was AI. And it was just another, like, why are people spending time making AI videos of stuff like this? But it is real. I don't know. It's funny to me that it's been 11 years now since Trump ran for president, and people liked him because he, quote, told it like it is and talks like a regular guy and whatever. And it took 11 years for Chuck Schumer, for the takeaway to be, let me swear one time in public.
And then
like
immediately...
that's all he can give us. That's the only takeaway from 11 years of the general population saying, fuck establishment politicians, we're tired of all of you. And it took 11 years for the takeaway to be like, oh, if I just swear, they'll think I'm like them.
And it's just... And this is why, a lot of people actually do write in and say we're harsh, harsh on Schumer. In his own words, any administration that lets Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem continue is rotten to its core. You literally, 5 days later, passed the stopgap, giving them the funding they wanted, and have completely stopped pressing them for the removal of Noem and Miller. So you're rotten to your core. Like, I mean, in your own words, I just don't. Just a sigh. I don't have enough sigh in my body because once again, they finally had an avenue to like people who are pissed. People who are looking at the Democrats. They said, oh my God, Chuck, can you help us out? We need it. He posts his fiery message that literally I posted on Instagram. Like literally like 20 people said, this is AI, right? And it's no, this is directly from his account. And nope, they all folded immediately. And yep, the Democrats. Apparently, Schumer said he negotiated with Trump personally, maybe on the exercise bike, like he says to do. I don't think Trump can even get on the exercise bike, but yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It was a disaster.
Yeah, what another, like you said, another big sigh. I just like. It's just like what we talked about with Kamala Harris and her saying fascism is coming to America under Donald Trump. And then the day after the election, her going like, you know what? I think we're all going to be okay. We've been through much worse before. And I think we should all just hope for the best. It's like, you guys, you need to stick to something. Like your whole, the number one complaint about Democrats is they're cowardly and they're wishy-washy. They don't actually care about people. We're not asking them to save the world. Like, we're asking them to keep the same energy. Chuck, keep the same energy when you're working on the Senate floor that you do in your dumb Instagram videos. that seems so fake that people are convinced they're AI when they're not AI. Like,
people go, just can't be real.
Keep the same energy for once in your life.
For 1 week. 1 week. ICE murdered an American, a VA nurse. People are furious. The guy literally, they started saying, well, it's because he has a gun. Trump had his back against the wall. You go, we're going to get rid of Noam. We're getting Miller. The whole country is protesting. There are strikes. And you fund ICE. And you fund DHS. You just can't deal with a shutdown. Oh, it'd be too much. I mean, he sucks. He doesn't suck because he's a terrible guy. He sucks because he's genuinely bad at politics. Like, he's bad at this. This is a bad job.
Such Trump clumsily saying, you can't have a gun. You just can't have guns. Like, he literally said, you can't have guns. Now, obviously, he didn't mean to say, I'm coming for all of your guns. We're getting rid of the Second Amendment. But if a Democrat ever said that, that would have been the whole message. Like, why isn't Chuck Schumer saying Trump is coming for your guns? He literally said you can't have guns in public. Like, it's such an easy political point to score, and they're just not willing to even try.
Dude, like, Kash Patel on Fox News the day after said, and I quote, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have the right to break the law and incite violence. The guy didn't do that. And that's a complete violation of the Second Amendment. What he just described is not respecting the Second Amendment. Every single Democrat should be playing that clip all over every social media platform. And that's it. And instead, what does he do? Here, let's play it again.
Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller are fucking liars. Any administration that allows them to continue office
This is Chuck.
is rotten to its core. The vote on appropriations is coming up Thursday night, and Democrats will not let the Republicans move forward if ICE and DHS funding are in the bill.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I mean, you can hear the edits. like
you can hear the edits. And this is, Schumer's PR team is begging him. Like, you need to make a video where you show anger and you show signs of life. So whatever you need to base that off, just, go back to being bullied in the schoolyard, like just please tap into
Show
real anger.
Any sign.
And this is the absolute best he could give us.
And then he's the one in charge of the voting. I don't think people realize, like, these, like, appropriation bills and stuff like that, they're all coordinated with the leaders of the parties. The reason why they passed this is because Schumer negotiated with Trump in his own, words, like, and said we should pass it because we don't want a shutdown. And I just, to me, they don't know how to get momentum, They just don't.
Right.
They don't know how to do it.
No, they don't. It took them 6 months for the Epstein stuff to build and build and build for them to be like, hey, maybe we should call for the release of the Epstein files.
Exactly.
You know how the president that we say we're doing everything to stop is an accused pedophile? Maybe we should jump on that.
And that's what I think that's such a great point, because a lot of the times you hear, well, if Trump was in it, the Democrats would have clearly released it beforehand. No, they're idiots.
Right.
Like, no, they wouldn't, because they're not smart. They aren't good at politics. Republicans always project their level of manipulation and gamesmanship that the Republicans play to the Democrats, and that is a huge mistake. The Democrats are not competent.
And also they controlled DHS for 4 years with the Epstein files sitting there. And
Exactly.
They did nothing. Yeah.
Oh, and also, like, it's always true. The Republicans are evil and the Democrats are incompetent. That's usually explains why each party is doing what they're doing. But yeah, just to really quickly wrap up Minnesota, because we could spend the whole hour on it. So one last thing too, just on that note. So Don Jr. made the news this week, posting a picture of Pretti from a few weeks before he got killed, like kicking an ICE car and, saying, this guy's an asshole and like blah, 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 blah. I mean, yeah, that doesn't mean you should get publicly executed because you kicked a car 2 weeks before. Also, the video kind of looks like AI. I don't know if it's AI, but it does look like AI. And of course, our lovely president wasted no time to go to Truth Social to comment on the video saying, agitator and perhaps insurrectionist Alex Pretti's stock has gone way down. His stock has gone down. He's dead. Like what? Like, if that isn't the most shallow way of viewing someone getting killed, I don't know what to tell you folks.
Well, this comes after he has said repeatedly that he's looking into the killing of Good from the week before because her parents are big Trump supporters, and that's why he feels bad about it.
I mean, yeah, it's awful. And so, just in case people are curious about that. So, also this week in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, one of the reps there, who is on the enemy list. Minnesota does have her and Walz, which are Republican enemies of the state. She's very much always in target for the Republicans because of her being Muslim and just, there's nothing else I can think of. She's progressive, but she's not like the most progressive. So, I don't know.
Yeah, she wears a hijab.
She wears a hijab, so she's in the news quite often.
Yeah.
And this week she was, doing a speech or like an event, and some dude ran up and sprayed her with an unknown liquid. Some people said it smelled like apple cider vinegar. The guy was arrested and charged. No one cared, I guess. I mean, some Democrats like Bernie and such were like, oh, good for her for continuing. Like, that was horrible. The Trumps did nothing. They yelled at her. No sympathy for our elected officials if they are blue.
Yeah, I similarly was like, why is nobody covering this or talking about
Why
this?
is this not a big deal
at all? Yeah, this is pretty crazy. Also, the fact that she started walking at him and was about to punch him before the security tackled him was pretty cool, honestly.
It was pretty badass. She went to go fight him.
She was absolutely willing to throw down, and there was no security around her at the time. Like, she literally just started walking at him and was about to punch him. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, her stock rises for me here.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't talk about her a lot because, while, she's not really that involved that often. I mean, she's kind of in the AOC clique a little bit, but not as much. But yeah, good for her. Obviously a lot of she continued. I know for me, if I was sprayed by an unknown liquid, I would rush right to the ER and, and have an
Oh, yeah.
absolute panic attack for months.
You don't think Secretary of War Hegseth wouldn't be sprinting to a bunker the second that happens?
Secretary of, yeah. Energy dominant Secretary Chris Wright would have beat his chest and attacked. No, I mean, I'm such a wuss with that stuff. I would have been freaking out. An unknown liquid? Yikes. It's terrifying. Yeah, that was a real badass moment for sure that has gotten no coverage at all. And then lastly, in Minnesota, Don Lemon, former CNN anchor, was arrested for protesting inside of a church. So what happened was basically there was this pretty conservative church in Minnesota, and Don Lemon with some other protesters busted in, and they didn't attack the people in the pews, but they definitely were annoying and loud, and they got arrested, and Pam Bondi did a big victory lap, and I mean, a lot of the language of sanctuary. The word sanctuary was definitely the buzzword of the week for the Republicans, that Don Lemon has violated a sanctuary. Yeah, I mean, I agree. You probably shouldn't be You definitely shouldn't be protesting inside of a church. I just don't know why Don Lemon was there. The left got really upset because they were like, this is arresting journalists and stuff like that. I mean, from a very high level perspective, I see that. Obviously, Don Lemon is a journalist and he was arrested. I do think you probably shouldn't bust into a church and start screaming. I mean, that's probably a mistake. So I don't know. Again, it's probably he shouldn't have been arrested, but he also shouldn't have done that. And yeah, it's not a good look for the country, but probably not as bad of a look as some people maybe thought on Instagram. That's at least what I think. Maybe you don't think so. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I don't know if I really want to. I don't know the details yet. I feel like so I don't really know how I feel about it. Obviously, it's a bad look when you're arresting journalists at protests anytime. So,
of course, yeah, that's a bad
freedom
look.
Of speech. Yeah. So it's definitely a bad look. But yeah, I don't know how bad of a look it was.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on the context of the church and what was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I will say we should just talk about the protests in general.
Yeah,
I think too, that have been massive about following the killing of Alex Pretti. And one of my pet peeves is how conservatives react to protests. And this is going back to the civil rights movement, but it's still the exact same today, where anytime there's a massive protest, if there's one instance of a scuffle or violence of any kind, they scapegoat the whole protest as violent insurrectionist, radical communist, right?
Totally.
But then when they do an economic boycott completely outside of an in-person protest, they say, oh, those don't do anything. But then when they have super large peaceful protests, all they say is, why aren't these people at work?
Yeah.
You see that constantly. And so there's literally no possible way you can protest that American conservatives will find acceptable.
They hate him. I mean, it is interesting. So Friday was the economic protest, the general protest. Yeah, maybe I heard some people say oh, the publicity wasn't there and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, these things are short notice. I think they did a good job. I think that was a good idea. I also think, yeah, it was hard. It was amazing that so many people protested. It was how cold it was this week. It was sub-zero all over the country. And yeah, it just shows you, how brave people are. But also, I do think, and you've said this on the show months ago, and I think about it all the time when protests come up, about how the most effective protests are during the week, during work, because they're the most annoying, right? The biggest pain in the ass. Right. And how people just can't do that in the U.S. because of the need for job security and how it's tied to their insurance and how expensive everything is. And They really have kind of suppressed free speech in a way, but as a secondary effect rather than a first one, by not really giving people the opportunity to protest during the week without huge consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a Sunday morning protest just isn't going to hit as hard as a Tuesday during rush hour. Like, they have to be a pain in the ass. I mean, this is extreme, but an example of an effective protest. When I was living in Paris, the garbage men were on strike because, they were federal government employees and they were not getting the raise they were promised. And so they literally didn't pick up trash for weeks, and there were so many rats and raccoons all over the city, and they started lighting cars on fire all over the city. And they got their raise. It was a bitch, and it was awful. Rocking around Paris be absolutely trashed, but it worked. And it's weird to me that patriotic people don't like protests because if you claim you're a patriotic person, you should absolutely love protests.
Right. Unless you're loyal to the British Empire of this,
the redcoats
of the 18th century.
It's a weird move. Yeah, no, you're totally right. And yeah, can I one last question on this? I know we've been talking a lot about it, but it's just so interesting. So one thing I also heard this week was, you heard a lot of politicians, the ones we like, the Zorons, whatnot, the AOCs, using the expression abolish ICE, right? Hashtag abolish ICE. And someone I was talking to was saying something like, I worry that this could give conservatives fodder that, we're defund the police or it's too general and people will use that against us and then that will be a problem. I don't agree with that, but I'm curious what you think about that because it is interesting.
I think it's a great question, and we touched on it briefly, I think, in the last episode, about the difference between local police forces and ICE.
Yep.
And even though they both commit crimes against people,
yeah,
and they both abuse their power, there is a need for local police forces, even though I believe they need major reform. I still think there's a need for them. I don't think we should abolish all police.
Of course. Yeah, neither do I, obviously.
Yeah, but ICE is a new agency, and really their budget has exploded and their power has exploded so much in the past year that it's really not even comparable to what ICE was for the previous 18 years of existence or whatever it's been since it was created. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get the concern because I think maybe the abolish police slogans of 5 years ago might have turned away some centrist moderate people, but I think we should abolish ICE. We don't need them. We have the FBI and other agencies to go after violent criminals, and we have Border Patrol to secure our border. We don't need this additional force that's of the most untrained officers ever in the country, acting on the whims of the president. We just don't need it. The easiest fix would be to abolish it.
100%. And again, it's also just a catchy slogan, right? I mean, they're not going to say ICE has gotten way too much funding and now it's the highest funding and now we, you know what I mean? It's just a slogan that you put on a sign. It's interesting, but I think we should get to the next story, which is the next biggest story of the week probably, which is there was another big dump of Epstein files that came out. And these files, 3 million pages, let's also, we'll talk about this later, but there's still apparently 4 or 5 million files not released yet, even though they said they were done, but nevertheless. So in these files, there's a lot of emails, a lot of allegations, a lot of videos. Elon Musk had a bad look here, a lot of an email exchange between him and Epstein that said, let me know when the craziest parties, girls for the win. He's a creep. Bill Gates, really rough look here. This doesn't look good. I mean, obviously, these are all allegations and stuff, but they both came out looking really bad. But Trump is all over these and really looks bad. I mean, some of the allegations against him in here are so graphic They're really gross. And so, yeah, and of course, the DOJ then deleted some of the ones with Trump in them after the fact, which, of course, does not make them look good. And yeah, so the DOJ is saying basically this is the last of it. They literally a few months ago said they had 6 million. They've only released 3 million. So we know that's not the last of it. And yeah, what do you think about this?
Yeah, Trump was mentioned over 1,000 times in the files released last week. Never mind all the previous releases. His name came up 1,000 times, and every time I feel like you hear from this administration, like, oh, sure, we will get around to releasing the files, but like, there's nothing too tangible. There's nothing like really about Trump. And every time, Trump's all over them.
Every time.
He's more all over them than I even predicted he was. And I think Trump is an absolute monster who was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So, like,
of course. Yeah.
That's what I think of him. And they continue to surprise me how involved he was. What was your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, when the email came out a few months ago from Epstein saying, I can't believe they haven't figured out Trump knew about the girls, I thought, okay, any rational person who thinks any of this, they'll see that and it's over. It didn't happen. Then you see thousands and hundreds of allegations of these really graphic. If even one of them is true, it's over. I'm also very surprised about Elon being so into him, not because Elon's not a fucking creep and weird, because that's not surprising, but he was also like part of the reason why Epstein and Trump got reinvigorated after they got into their fight on Twitter, remember? And also, similarly to Bill Gates, I just don't understand why they would have any need to associate with Epstein, like when you're that rich. They're so weird. And it does speak to like how psychotic they maybe are. Like just, I don't know. I think Trump, I think it's hard for people to admit that they endorsed a pedophile or at least someone complicit with pedophilia. And I think it's okay. Like you got duped, swallow the pill and move on. But if you look at these things and you don't think anything else, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Right. And what I would say to those people too is like, I understand you hate what you think of as the left and liberals have annoyed you for years. I understand all that, but like at some point you need to reevaluate who you're supporting here, right?
Yeah,
And I mean, we're talking about like the worst crimes that humanity ever commits on the planet. And so,
100%.
like, it really is blind loyalty when you're not willing to reevaluate that, especially after years of, being so worried about Hunter Biden smoking crack in Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Or whatever the hell. They're coke on the White House
adults,
toilet.
By the way. Smoking crack with other 40-year-olds, not 13-year-old girls.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes people are numb to the Epstein stuff because it's just been in the news so long that they forget this is the worst pedophile of American history and worst sex trafficker in American history. Like this is atrocities, that you can't even imagine. Which is
it's like if we found out Ted Bundy was best friends with Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
We'd be like,
exactly.
Why? Why were they best friends?
And like hung out all the time. like alone in their island where he did the eating and the killing.
Right.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, they talked about the best way to grill meat together.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking weird. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it'll probably do nothing. It'd be my guess. I think that it should do something, but it should have done something a long time ago. I don't have any faith that this will do anything at all. I really don't. I mean, we've seen. Interestingly, too, so obviously the bill, right, the Epstein File Transparency Act, which was also mandated, by the way, that all of them were to get the files out by freaking December, early December, mid-December, that they completely ignored, by the way. Massey and Rokan. Massey is now being primaried against a Trump PAC-funded group. So it's weird that Trump is very actively trying to get Massey out of office if he had nothing to hide. I mean, it's not a coincidence here, Adam.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think anything will happen to this, or do you think it's just going to get, people are just going to continue to internalize the fact that the president of the United States has hundreds and hundreds of pedophilia allegations and molestation allegations that have no consequence at all on his merit to do the job of president?
Right. I think if all this came out before the 2024 election, even though 95% of Trump supporters still would have voted for him, if it had any effect on the other 5%, or let's say 2%, that would have been meaningful. These elections are so close. Obviously, 2016 was way closer too.
Totally.
I'm definitely not optimistic that the MAGA world is going to turn on Trump over Epstein, but just talking about electoral purposes, if it swings a few percent, that could end up swinging a massive election, but Trump is term limited, allegedly. We'll see. So
exactly.
So I don't think this is going to really have any effect.
And, it should be noted, who isn't on these Epstein files? Joe Biden or Barack Obama or any Democratic politician, really, other than Bill Clinton. I mean, literally just Bill Clinton, who is the famous creep. Famous creep, Bill Clinton, impeached for sleeping with his secretary, Bill Clinton. By the way, my God, how much would we kill for that to be the controversy? Monica Lewinsky, my God. Okay, in other news, this is a big story. So the FBI has launched a probe against the 2020 elections, including they executed a search warrant in Fulton County, which is in Georgia, looking for the 2020 election materials. This is they see 700 boxes of ballots and records. I mean, also, why was Tulsi Gabbard came along for the ride? She showed up to the house. Not necessary. Seems like a PR stunt. But also, this is a pretty big difference from their normal nonsense. This is a real formal act of them legitimizing this notion that the 2020 election was stolen when it absolutely wasn't.
Right. Yeah, it's a big move, and it's doubling down on they've already lost every lawsuit related to Georgia in 2020. This has already been litigated. Like you said, why was Tulsi Gabbard there? She's the director of national intelligence that should be focused on foreign threats and not what the FEC does. This is the whole purpose of the FEC. Yeah, it's just wild. Gabbard's an interesting one where she kind of goes into the shadows for a few months. She's not as prominent as RFK or Bondi or Patel. Well,
that's just because the cast of characters are so horrible. I mean, you have Besant on the news every week acting like an idiot, Lutnick, Burgum, even idiot, Chris Wright, an idiot, RFK, Noam. I mean, this is a real rough cast. So it's hard to if you're not atrocious, you can really kind of hide in the shadows.
Yeah, and it's February 2026, and we're still fighting about what Rudy Giuliani was screaming about in front of Four Seasons Construction 6 years ago. I mean, it's funny that you use the phrase cast of characters because this week Trump announced his nomination for Fed chair. He's nominating Kevin Warsh.
Yep.
And in his statement about it, Trump said, on top of everything else, he is central casting and he will never let you down, which to me just says he's good looking. I don't really know what else that's supposed to mean. But I thought that was weird phrasing to describe an economist.
Yeah. And it's funny because Kevin Warsh, it's not a super controversial pick because he's a legitimate economist. I do wonder though if he was he just picked because he thinks he's hot. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, obviously Trump famously appointed Jerome Powell, and now he hates Jerome Powell because Jerome Powell isn't just doing whatever he wants him to do. And yeah, we'll see if Warsh is able to maintain any legitimacy for the government. Also this week, yes, Trump, this is the biggest news of the week by far. The Melania documentary is out, and it was rough. I mean, people weren't watching because why would they watch? It's all about the hat, I guess, and her outfit. I don't know. But funny enough, I mean, not really funny, but interestingly enough, Brett Ratner, the director of the Melania movie, in the recent Epstein file leak, was pictured with a teenage girl sitting on a couch with Epstein. So, wonder how they know each other. Also, there's also an email leaked of Melania calling like Ghislaine like a sweet pea or something like this. Like, I don't know. But yeah, anyways, Rick, are you going to go see the Melania movie?
Maybe. I have a busy schedule, but I might I might squeeze it in. Is it an IMAX? Yeah, it's I read one like semi-positive review of it that said it's basically a fashion documentary. Like it really focuses on Melania's fashion, and Donald Trump is like a side character who kind of just appears for a few minutes. So I don't know. Good to see that Melania is still just a model and has accomplished absolutely nothing in the past 20 years outside of that.
Whose focus, by the way, is 100% freaking cyberbullying. That's what she says is her issue. Yikes. Yeah, there was
it's just it would be like Chris Christie saying my number one issue is obesity.
Or bridges.
Right. It's so insulting to our intelligence.
Everything they do. Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, Trump is suing the IRS and Treasury for $10 billion over his tax records being leaked. I wonder if the Department of Justice that is literally his will favor him in this case, or if they will be not that. I don't know. $10 billion is a lot of money. I don't know what'll happen with that. Also, Marco Rubio was in the news this week. Talk about cast of characters. He often gets left out of the hurdle, but he's a real joke. They were talking about Venezuela in a Senate hearing. He didn't rule out further U.S. military action. And they were pressing him saying, like, what is going to happen with all the money that you guys are taking? Like, where is it going? And he didn't really give any answers. It's pretty incompetent. And it just more and more explanation of how little of a plan they have in Venezuela.
Right. And at least with the tariffs, Trump is willing to put the energy in to lie to our faces and say we'll get the money back. With Venezuelan oil, like he's not even pretending. Like it's just going to make the billionaire CEOs of the oil companies that get the contracts richer. Like he's not even saying it will be better for us.
No, he's specifically said it's for the oil executives. He said that directly. It's funny because Venezuela is like 2 weeks old and it feels like a lifetime ago. But yeah, for those who are listening, the U.S. invaded Venezuela and took the president and has no plan of how to run another country. And it seems like Trump's initial plan of the oil companies will all just fund the upgrades for the infrastructure isn't happening.
Right.
So that's still ongoing. That's still on the docket. We have that to think about. Lastly, I wanted to end the news section of the show with a piece of good news. You know, we often are pretty negative on this show. And of course, it won't be of a surprise that it's me once again fangirling over Zohran Mamdani, the now mayor of New York City. He was celebrating this week his launching of the 3 to pre-K applications for public schools doing free childhood education, basically. So basically, it's one of his major campaign promises was the universal education for young kids, right? Pre-K, K through 3. And yeah, they're now accepting applications for that. That's open. You can apply right now. And yeah, so Zohran came through on his pretty much most ambitious campaign promise within 2 weeks.
Yeah, and putting out a lot of videos, like encouraging people to apply and everything. And it's good to see he's like using his like charisma and like what he's good at, like not just to win the election. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, and also, I thought that was too hard to do. Like, dude, like, how many years have we heard that this stuff, universal education, universal childcare, all this stuff is too impossible? The dude did it in 2 weeks.
Right, and
I mean,
yeah,
like, can we talk about that? Like, all the time we hear, oh, you can't be too Bernie would never get things done. These guys are never going to get anything done. You need to be moderate to get things done. I'm sorry. More and more we are being told and seeing that that is not true. If Trump was moderate, he wouldn't have gotten more done than if he was the nut job that he is now. That isn't
Right.
true. It's just not true. I'm sick of people saying that. And I just feel like this is a great example, one we should be celebrating and happy about, of how it doesn't make sense to be, neutered. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And part of the reason it doesn't make sense is because the right-wing media is going to lie and spin shit regardless of what you do or how moderate or how left-wing you are. Like, we saw it with Obama, where they said he was a communist, even though he was incredibly centrist. And we're seeing this with Mamdani now, and I Googled Mamdani's name just to see, like, the biggest news headlines of the week associated with him, and a lot of them were about this, the pre-K stuff, but the third biggest result on Google was a headline from Fox News from a few days ago titled, "Mamdani taps ex-con to lead NYC jails as Rikers remains under federal oversight." So that's what the
Yep.
right-wing social media is hearing about Zoran. And I clicked on the article, and I actually had to scroll way down to the bottom to find out what he went to jail for. He went to jail in the 80s for robbery for 2 years.
Yeah.
I had to scroll down to
This
the
is
very bottom, the last paragraph of the article, to find out that since the 80s, he has served as the Deputy Commissioner of Programs and Operations at the Department of Correction. So experience that directly prepares him for this role. But, right, like, why... We just have to remember, our social media bubbles and algorithms are showing us totally different things from other people. Like, while we're hearing about what Mamdani is trying to actually do policy-wise, people that get their news from Fox are hearing about how he's tapping convicts to run his departments.
It's always so funny. They always use tap. Taps, global head, tap. They're always tapping. Have you noticed that? They love writing it like that. Yeah, it's so funny. They're trying to tell the story that he said, like, who's a criminal? All right, you're in, buddy. We were looking for a criminal.
Right. He closed his eyes while visiting Rikers and just
he said,
picked some guy.
Who here? Anyone? We're looking for a convict to run this thing.
By the way, Trump's pardon count for only this year of his second term is over 1,600 individuals convicted of federal crimes.
Yeah, multiple of them. This show should just be sighing back and forth. just like an hour of sighs. No, I mean, yeah, man. They called Kamala a cadre Harris. Let's remember that. But yeah, it's a good point though. Like, is that we're just living in two different realities. And so this week, though, every now and then we do a shakeup. Obviously, you're normally the culture guy around here, head of the culture network of the Lonely Liberal Enterprises. But sometimes I like to bring you one and get your taste, And this week I read an interesting little report that I thought would be fun to talk about. So have you heard of the O1 visa?
No.
So the O1 visa is the visa in the U.S. that allows people to come here if they have extraordinary ability. That's the name of the category. So basically, it's supposed to be someone like who is themselves. So like, if a famous tennis player or a famous actor or something like that, like someone very famous who their brand is themselves and only they can do it. Sometimes it was originally meant for like chemists and like, scientists and stuff like that, but it's kind of expanded to being more just anyone with a famous brand, I guess, but specifically, hopefully helping the United States. So these have gone up over the years. Like there's been, as more celebrities have become well known, as social media has grown, the amount of visas this is issued has gone up and up and up. And a recent report showing that the majority of these visas are now being given to OnlyFans models and influencers. And
Oh my God.
welcome to Trump's America. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. What do you think about that? I don't even know what to say. That's the majority of people immigrating with extraordinary ability.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
It's just not.
Yeah,
and we have no judgment for any OnlyFans models or if fair enough, but it's not a great look for society.
No.
You do you, girl. But
Right. We should welcome all people that want to be citizens of this country.
How dare you get the hardworking surgeon from Honduras.
if we're going to prioritize, we probably the OnlyFans models shouldn't be at the top.
It does, though. It made me think of, so do you remember when they were talking about Greenland a few weeks ago, and they were talking about like how they were maybe going to pay the Greenland citizens $100,000 each if they joined the U.S.? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, so they interviewed a Greenlander, I think is what you'd say. And they were like, what do you think about this $100,000? Like, would that change your mind? And she's like, no, like, I don't think Trump realizes, like, we're not really just like trying to get boob jobs and like facial work. Like, we're just trying to live out here. And it made me laugh. And I'm just thinking about like, that really is what the U.S. is famous for now. Like,
yeah, Mar-a-Lago face.
Yeah, like that is
Ice Barbies.
Yeah, like the Kardashians, that style, like hyper-sexualized, like Christians. You know what I mean? Like, not like actually being sexual.
Christian pornographers.
Yeah, like people who will die on the hill that they're hardened Catholics, but absolutely, but look like have gotten all the work done and are so outwardly horny. Like that is the most famous character out of the U.S. Like what else is it? Like that is
true.
what we are known for.
Like people joke about all these guys flying to Turkey for hair transplants. Like they're flying to Miami for BBLs and nose jobs.
Yeah, and then they don't stay in Turkey; they fly back because that's where they need the hair job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really is true. Somehow we've managed to get a culture that is the most superficial while also pretending to be the most religious.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting.
And I feel like this kind of shows it, right? The OnlyFans models are coming in record numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a fact. like this is the paradise if you want to be a porn star and an OnlyFans model and an influencer. Like that's what our country is. So, it does seem to contradict with the Bible. And who am I to judge? But for a group of people that talk a lot about the Bible and religion, they need that boob job. just so weird. But anyway, that's my culture corner.
It's a great one. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we'll monitor that.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a live tracker. Lastly, too, we were gonna play this for the show, but we might be turning. Let us know if you guys. This is the end of the show, so only the real ones will have made it an hour plus down. We're thinking about maybe converting to video episodes for the YouTube. We're dabbling about it. Rick just got a new camera, and now we can see all his pores, which is great.
Blur effect activated.
Yeah, exactly. You can see that somehow I'm permanently sunburned. I don't know what happened. But yeah, man, if we had a video show, we would have definitely played this one this week. So this week, Trump literally shit himself during a press conference and then immediately called it off. And you can literally hear the farts out. I'll put the link in the show notes to the YouTube video so people can click it. But my God, if Biden did that, it would be everywhere.
Yeah, it's it's a subtle sound. You got to turn up your volume, but the reactions from his cabinet standing behind him, you can tell there's some sniffling, there's some looking towards him, some confusion,
and then
then
kick everyone.
he real quickly goes, "All right, guys, thank you," and like literally shoos them away from the Oval Office with his hands.
He doesn't get up to shake their hands. He leans back, and the woman in the green behind her, she starts playing with her nose. She holds her nose, and she does a symbol, and then they all run out, and then fucking then what did the guy say? He goes, "I can't do this anymore." One of the news reporters.
You hear a reporter mumble, "I can't do this anymore."
I can't do this anymore.
I've lied about seeing the president poop himself one too many times. I can't do this again.
I can't do this anymore. You and me both, brother. See you in Valhalla. It's gosh, dude. I get it, man. But anyway, that's our show. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
See you, dude. And that's our show, folks. Thank you so much for listening today. And also, thank you for making it to the end of the episode. You are a real one for sure, and I really appreciate you. If you like the show, please give it a 5-star review wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff, or YouTube. We're, we do have a YouTube channel. So far, it's basically just been whatever the RSS feed I uploaded to the podcast, sharing stuff, and YouTube just makes a Windows movie maker type thing and it posts. But I'm going to start cutting up the episodes a little bit, and, eventually, like I said, we may be going on camera, so let us know what you think. You can email me, us at thelonelyliberalpodcast@gmail.com. That's the email, or just comment on YouTube or on Instagram, TikTok. We've got all this stuff, and we be posting. So, yeah, all that would be good to know what you guys think, because we are in the feedback phase of the show. So, yep. Anyways, we will be back on Wednesday, per usual. And until then, take it easy. Bye.